But let's start with with Dallas and Cincinnati, because Cowboys get off to this great start, 17-3 out of the gate at halftime. Woo! Here comes a big upset. But then here comes Joe Burrow and the Bengals, and they outscore the Cowboys 14-0. And then the Cowboys, fourth quarter, are we going to overtime? Are we going to choke the game away? Do we need Dak Prescott? Answer, no. Why? Because Cooper Rush, and I have here in my hands a piece of paper. Now, Cooper Rush is on the field. He's only got one win in his career against the Vikings a year ago. Do the Dallas Cowboys trust Cooper Rush? Is he going to lead them down the field and win the game, or are we going into overtime where we're probably going to lose the game because Cincinnati has all the momentum? Rush passed to CeeDee Lamb for 8 yards. Rush passed to Brown for 12 yards. Rush passed to Lamb for 10 yards. A little Tony Pollard in the mix. Spike the ball, stop the clock. And let's have at it a 50-yard field goal to win the game. Cooper Rush gets a game ball.
Yeah, he deserves it. He deserves it. And for me, the reason why I think we've become so enamored with this idea that Dak Prescott is the savior in Dallas is because he's all they have. Like, he's been their only option. But Dak Prescott doesn't equate to wins for Dallas.
Right. He's had some regular season.
Exactly.
He has, but not playoffs.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But it's not like he tips the scale immediately and you say, or any of us say, yep, Dak Prescott, he's going to win the game for him. That's not what we think. So for me, the way Cooper was able to go out there and just manage the game, not turn the ball over, and make plays in the moment that was its brightest, that was special, not only for him, but for those guys in that locker room to see that he can get it done, and they win the game.
It does a lot. Listen, it puts a lot of people at ease when a guy like Cooper Rush can come in and manage a game, right? That's all you're asking a backup quarterback to do. You want him to manage the game. You don't want him to be the reason you lose the game.
Exactly.
And if you can manage the game, and listen, what he did yesterday, I don't even care what his stats are. They're irrelevant to me. That is the perfect play from a backup. He put his team in a position to win the game, and he's not the reason that the Bengals came back in the second half. Yeah, his stats aren't going to look great. Fair enough. But he gave his team a chance to win. They get the kick to win it. And now you go from looking at 0-2, and maybe we don't have a legitimate starting quarterback, to Dak Prescott as of right now this second. And I think this is crazy talk. He might play Monday night against the New York Giants. He went for yes.
What?
That is right now.
No.
Yes. Listen, we all love an underdog, right? And many people hate the Dallas Cowboys, not necessarily on this particular network, but nationwide. That's just the way.
It's a fact. It is a fact.
We might be the only show that is objective about the Dallas Cowboys. I didn't think the Cowboys were going to beat the Bengals. I really didn't.
No.
And I think winning that game, it lets them breathe. Like, you take a breath. All right, we're not 0-2. We're not out of it. We're not worried about the New York Giants, despite them being 2-0. And hey, if the Eagles lose tonight, we're right there.
Yeah, it was a great team win. And when you have a roster configured the way that the Dallas Cowboys have, and on paper, you have a bunch of skilled guys, talented individuals. It's not just about those guys stepping up, especially when your leader, your alpha in the locker room is removed. It's about the other guys. And for me, yesterday, that's what it was about. It's going to take a lot of guys coming together who we don't know, who understand what they're being asked to do. That's the type of success you are capable of having when you have a guy like Cooper Rush. Your defense bend, don't break. And offensively, you don't create turnovers and put your defense in bad spots. They didn't have 10 penalties like they did against.
They had a lot of penalties though.
In week one.
There's still too many.
But they didn't have 10. They cut it in half. They had 5. They still had a lot.
Yeah. Again, like I said, part of the reason why they win. And I mean, is Micah Parsons not the most electric defensive player in football? And hey, memo to Cincinnati: guard him, block him. Like, your franchise quarterback is like going out on a date with the guy. He was so close to him. It's like everybody forgot that number 11 knows how to play. Tony Romo compared him to Lawrence Taylor yesterday. It was crazy. And there he is again.
He just wreaks havoc. He's a motor that is endless. He's always on.
Now, Bengal-wise, listen, 2 very tough losses, right?
Yes.
They lose to the Steelers in week 1 on a blocked extra point and then a bad field goal from a guy that's usually money good at McPherson. They lose by a field goal yesterday. Listen, they're 0-2, and we know the numbers. You know, like you have like a 10% chance of making the playoffs when you're 0-2. They're also in the AFC, which is a much tougher conference than the NFC, and there's also a lot of football left. Yeah. But should Bengal fans be worried?
Yes. We've seen Joe Burrow sacked 13 times in 2 weeks. Worry. Like you go out and you address your offensive line with 3 new acquisitions. You bring them in, and the expectation is, okay, we solidified our protection up front for our number 1 asset. And we go out first 2 weeks of the season, and it's as if they never did anything addressing that offensive line, and he's your number 1 asset. So for me, they thrive off the big play.
Yep.
If Joe Burrow can't drop back and have time to assess what's going on down the field and hit Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and others, they have no chance. And for me, they're not great. They're not good enough defensively to overcome the lack of offensive production.
And listen, they can make an argument that we've played well enough to be 2-0, and they're not. They're 0-2. And to be fair, week 1, Burrow had a bad game. 4 picks, had a fumble. And listen, you miss an extra point, it happens. Like I always say, the other team gets paid too. You ain't the only professionals on the field. Hey there, thank you so much for watching The Carton Show. You can subscribe right here to get all the latest bits and segments from the show. And by the way, while you're at it, we have a lot of great shows on FS1, so check them out too.